There's not costs incurred. Yeah.
So I just was reading an article that was like, the ending of the ritual explained by the director, and literally the paragraph they pulled was the director being like, it's like he's fighting the monster, but he's confronting his own demons as well. I was like, no, no fucking shit. That's what the whole movie's about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, some of
I
these
didn't need
direct, like,
I didn't need an explainer post for that on your website.
well, it's also like, what, like, the director was probably like, is this a serious question? You know? And then he was like, all right, I guess there's like 14-year-olds out there who like haven't figured this out. I should tell them. I did a little bit of research on the like distribution backstory, and by a little bit, I mean I read the Hollywood Reporter article about the
That's
acquisition.
that's the main thing I'm curious about because, and it may just be us in a vacuum, but feels like maybe there's a little bit of a trend happening.
There 100% is a trend happening, and like like we've talked about it a little bit. This is the first time we can actually put like numbers behind it because this was acquired at Toronto International Film Festival, so it was like reported as a thing, unlike Open House, which was just like essentially commissioned probably by Netflix, you know. But we can, I mean, we should talk about it. Like I don't, I'm not like a expert, but I'm somewhat familiar with, you know, what's going on. So, um, are you posting the video? Are
Doing
you just ignoring me?
I'm doing it right now. I'm typing.
Okay. Oh, I got a good word of the day for you, I think. I'm pretty sure I've never used it.
Boom. Link is away.
Link is away.
So I've got like just a few chapters left in Leviathan Wakes.
You really pounded through it.
I did, and actually the last week I slowed. I probably would be done with it, but I went in a weird jag last week where I was watching videos on my lunch break instead of reading, so I'm actually like a little behind. I probably would have been done by now. It's an easy read. It
Nice.
paces
Okay.
fast and it's pretty easy to bang through.
Yeah, no, I mean that's totally true. It like I liked it. I didn't love it. It basically
I'm
was like
kind of in the
over
same.
recommended to me.
I'm kind of in the same boat. It's very hard reading anything after Game of Thrones because what I realize is like, I mean, and I realize reading through it, but Martin is like such a like unique, confident voice.
Yeah.
And I read this and it's just like it's just structurally not as good. It's entertaining. It's like pulpy in a fun way. Like I like the sci-fi
Yeah.
stuff, but there's a lot of really like I really hate anything having to do with like relationship stuff. It's all so fucking corny and like not well written and very like
Well, I found
14-year-old dude.
yeah, the whole like what's his name? Like what's the main character? The like the cop main character's name? The him being in a
Miller.
relationship ghost of the lady that he's like
Uh,
trying to find.
I thought that was all right. It was more the like slap and tickle stuff going on with the main crew there that like annoyed me because like it's just not adding anything to the story. Like
Yeah.
people give Martin shit about how he deals with like sex and gender and stuff, but at
Hmm.
the end of the day, that stuff is actually equally important to what he's saying about the like the power structure of this world. Like that shit is really important.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's scene setting for exactly what you're talking about.
but
Yes.
like in Leviathan Wakes, it's just like, well, we have nothing to do in this middle part of the book, so let's make this guy have a crush on the other lady, and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's just like
There's
it's just a little corny. It also is too twisty for me. Like every fucking chapter, there's like another plot twist. I'm like, really,
yeah,
dude? Just like give me the story, and if it's interesting, cool. Like,
I know. That's I've had that I find that to be a problem with a lot of I love detective novels like crime novels and they do a lot of that, but that's like the point. And they're also much shorter than that book. That book was like long, and like to your point, there was like a lot of description of like random shit that ultimately is like cool,
Yeah.
but like not driving the plot forward.
Um, I like the world. I like the world building stuff a lot.
Yeah.
I think that in the moments when it picks up pace and it's doing like not only action, but action that's like propelling the plot forward, it can actually be really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, so I like it. It's just like the question is, do I like it enough to read 7 more fucking books? I might just take a break and read Annihilation because I have a feeling like after I see the movie, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, and then kind of go from there and maybe try to revisit it. You
Yeah.
know,
We can get into it on the show. Like I would definitely like
you just
I would give it a strong not recommend.
I lost you. I lost you. What'd you
God
say?
damn it, dude. I was saying I would not recommend reading The Ritual. Like just at
No,
all.
the Annihilation. Annihilation.
No,
I'm
I
talking
know,
about.
no, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. I'm saying like I know Cece was like saying like check it out. We'll
Well,
talk about it on the show.
we
Like,
should talk about it. Yeah.
but let me try restarting my so frustrated. Like sometimes my service is like great, and then other times it's just like so shitty, and
Yeah,
there's no reason for it.
it's like you're fine for a little while and then you lag out.
Yeah, let me just I'm gonna shut down my Wi-Fi and like re-hook it up and see what happens.
All right, let me just say, if anybody's watching the pre-show, you're gonna lose everything now. So just kind of hang out for a few minutes till Schnars gets back. Casey might be here soon, also.
Say that again.
I was just telling the listeners if they're watching that they're gonna lose their feed here, but just keep it up and we'll be back on momentarily.
Oh, did you shut down the call? Well, did you drop the
If
call?
there's no call going on between me and you, there's nothing going into XSplit.
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
not a big deal. Go ahead, do what you gotta do. I'd rather the show turn out right.
Well, no, I just shut down my Wi-Fi and turned it back on.
Listen, man, you know what you gotta do? Go to Amazon, get yourself a 50-foot Cat 5 cable, and you run that bitch along your floorboards, and then
Well,
you have
dude,
magical internet like me.
yeah, the problem is the fucking router is in my wife's closet. Like I'd have to like it would be. I could probably do it actually. I could do it. I gotta figure it out. It's super annoying. Is it better now? Should I still restart my computer?
You sound okay right now.
Okay. What was I gonna say? No, there's like I can't remember if anyone recommended to you. I've never read them, but the Wheel of Time series has been like highly recommended to me.
I don't remember.
He's like pre what's the guy's name? He's pre R. George R. R. Martin, Wheel of Time. It's like more classic sci-fi or fantasy rather. Robert Jordan.
I don't really
Is
like
the
classical fantasy. You know what's
original.
interesting? What I'm thinking, like, I might actually really like historical fiction or like period fiction because by far my favorite parts of Game of Thrones are like the descriptions of what daily life is like. Like when he writes
Well,
about a
so
meal for 2 pages, or when he talks about like trading, or like like that's the kind of shit where like that he's so good at is making you understand all the minutia of how people live in that world.
dude, so the book you should read, and again, like I haven't read it, but like I know people who are obsessed with it, is Pillars of the Earth, which is 100% historical fiction. I believe it's about the building of a cathedral in it is. It's about the building of a cathedral in like basically the Middle Ages, like during like the 13th century.
I could get into that. Let me grab the thing here.
It's for highly like very highly regarded. It's also super long.
What's it called?
And then I think it's called The Pillars of the Earth. Ken Follett's like he's kind of like a badass. He's written a bunch. I may have read one of his books. He wrote like the eye. What's it called? The Eye of the Needle. I want to say. Yeah, the Kingsbridge series. He ended up writing a couple books about it. But Pillars of the Earth is from '89. It's like a good bit old now.
Downloading the sample as we speak.
Nice. Well, keep me posted because like it's one of those that I've kind of had on my
yeah,
my list, and I've never.
Let me look at my.
Like,
I just like random stuff I've heard people.
The Friend. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the friend who recommended to me originally Game of Thrones, like before it was like anything, he had been recommending it to me for a while, and the other book he always recommends to me is Pillars of the Earth.
Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll try that next. I have samples right now for Altered Carbon because that looked interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
super into that.
Sapiens, which I think you recommended.
So we talked about. Uh, I've heard really good things. I've heard some people I know like didn't love it, but it sounds super interesting to me.
The fifth season.
Yeah, that one I recommended, and I'm reading the second book of the series now. The
This
fifth
is it.
season I think is like really really
Is
good.
it called the
The
sixth
first book,
season?
huh?
Is it the sixth season?
I call it the sixth season. It's called the Obelisk Gate, I think. Um, it ends up like it ends up flattening out for me a little bit, like the fifth season did. Like the first 200 pages are legit incredible in my mind. The like last 150 are like less good but still solid. The beginning of the not loving, but I'm like it's like picking up a good bit now. I'm about a third of the way in, and it's cranking up a good bit. So I
Um,
don't know.
and then no, I have the sample for Annihilation. I was gonna check that out. I have the sample for Mindhunter.
Oh, like the show?
Yeah, like the book the show is based on. And
Yeah,
then
I didn't
so I got.
make
Do you
sense.
listen to Hardcore History?
I have. I don't like basically what I do is I wait till he puts out like a whole season and then I'll go and like crank through it.
That guy recommends this historian that I've been checking out some of her stuff named Barbara Tuckman, and she writes just these like very vivid. She takes all these kind of first person perspectives and writes this like really interesting historical narrative.
Oh, dude, I really want to read A Distant Mirror. That's like one of
So I
hers
have
that
that sample right here. Is that the World War One one?
no, it's about like the Middle Ages.
Which one did I
The
start? I
yeah,
started
Distant
one.
Mirror, I had that's been on my list for a long time. Yeah, I've heard really good things about Barbara Tuckman in
Yeah,
general, to your point. So,
it was interesting. The last time I started one of hers, I just wasn't in a super reading mood when I did it. But
yeah, I mean, she's like a legit historian. Like
yeah, it's
that's
actual
like
history. Like yeah,
history. Yeah. Mm. The March of Folly, like a bunch of these. I think she's won a bunch of
I can't find it. But I was reading one that's about World War One.
that might be the Guns of August.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one it won. I think it won the Pulitzer, like the National Book Award or something.
We'll see. But I think I
Yeah.
might try this thing you're telling me about next. That sounds
Oh,
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, I might. This Guns of August does look really good. Yeah, I've heard really good things about Barbara Tuckman. The books just look like imposing. You know, like
Yeah,
they're
they're
thick.
different.
They real thick.
Well, it's a beauty. I read it in the Kindle. I have no idea how long it is.
Yeah, fair. I like literally can't do Kindle. I like literally find I just absorb less.
It's the only way I can read because I realize I just hate reading like holding a book is so cumbersome. I get sick of it and I stop reading. So like at work, I'm reading during lunch and I can literally just prop it up in the desk in front of me and I'm just eating and I can flip the page. Like it's so much easier. I
Yeah.
definitely I get the liking to own the physical book, but what I realize the actual act of reading a physical book, I hate it.
Yeah. No, no, I mean, I get it. I'm gonna make fun of you for that, like for the rest of your life. But no, the other thing I've been reading is do you know who fuck, what's his name? The baseball guy, the guy who metrics. Bill James.
Moneyball
Are you
guy?
familiar with Bill James? Yeah, well, yeah, the Moneyball was like kind of about him a little bit. He wrote a book called Popular Crime. That is, it's like hard to describe. It's basically almost like in narrative form of famous crimes, starting with like the 1850s to present day.
Huh.
And he dissects them from the perspective of what they say about like society and culture and our fascination with these specific crimes. It's actually interesting.
That sounds cool.
So like the part of the book I'm in now, he's like talking about the Lizzie Borden murder, and like he actually is like dissecting the like evidence and like talking about the trial and like how it was represented in the media, and like
When
it's really interesting.
I did jury duty in Boston once, and like actually down at the state house, and they there is like in the room where you wait all day long to like see if you're going to be called, there's a display about the Lizzie Borden case because it happened in Massachusetts and it was like the first time that a woman was ever tried for murder or something like that.
Yeah, it might have been. I mean, it was like a super famous case. Like it was like that's like the whole like again the point of this book is like he only covers like cases that were like sensational basically at the time. So it's good. It's an interesting book. His style is super conversational, which is like a little off-putting, but like once you kind of get like he has like asides and sort of his English his like grammar is not incorrect, but it's very informal. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
it's almost like distracting at times to read.
Oh, I did finish.
But the book's interesting.
I did finish Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh yeah,
real twist there at the end.
And so like, do you like legit don't know what's going on in any of the Harry Potter books?
I just know Harry Potter and Hogwarts and Hermione and that's it. And I know like Voldemort's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's not good. He's that's not a twist. He's bad. He's
I'm
always
a little
bad.
bummed out that like they haven't found a way to write the fucking aunt and uncle out of the story because like that the worst part of that book, you spend like 50 pages before he even gets to Hogwarts with his dumbass aunt and uncle, and I was like, and I'm reading it 3 pages at a time because I'm reading with a toddler, and it was just like this is brutal.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. Like that's basically like the next 4 books I think are like that. Like basically the first 10th of all of the books is him at his aunt and uncle's house.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's only in like the 5th or 6th book that she finally like gives up and like he moves out essentially. Yeah.
I was just hoping he would get murdered or something. So what I started doing.
The thing about J.K. Rowling is the books just aren't that well written, in my opinion.
No, they're not. But I totally 100% see, like the messages are pretty good, and I see why a kid would love it. And the brilliant thing, because I mean I haven't read them, but my understanding is like, you're going through the series and you're seeing Harry grow up, but also like the books are kind of getting more adult-like, right?
Yeah,
so like,
sure,
that's brilliant because all those kids you hooked when they were little and went through that series. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they grow up with you for sure.
So, and then you got in my head about kids' books, so I'm reading both now. I'm basically reading a couple little kids' books, and then I'll go to that and just...
Dude, I'm telling you, we got to do an Eric show on kids' books and on kids' books list. Do you know how many goddamn books I have in my house? It's like actually like a problem that I have.
What's up, Joe?
Like,
yeah, we have the same thing. Like Mia's has like shelves, and they're just full of goddamn books.
Well, and they like destroy them. So like half of the books are like the fucking binding is ripped out.
We got we got the nice version of Sorcerer's Stone. It's like it's big and it's illustrated, and it's got like a nice dust jacket and stuff. The dog just like destroyed a bunch of pages. Then Lily got in one day and was just ripping pages out, and it's just like, oh my god, dude. Yeah. So Laura went in after we finished and like all the pieces she could figure out what page they went to, just like taped them back together with like Scotch tape.
It's one of those things where like what we've started to do is we don't buy hardcover books. So you buy like the $8 version of like a popular book, or I actually do really like the like little kid version, like Goodnight Moon. You can buy like a nice Goodnight Moon, but like, or you just get the smaller like hard page. I forget what they're called, but the cardboard version. It's the exact same book, but it's like very hard to destroy those things. They're like you could shoot them and they'd be fine.
All right, you guys get to do the Casey part of the pre-show now, where I go take my pregame constitutional, and you guys take over the pre-show. I'll be right back. Just keep an eye out for Mark and Casey to add them to the call.
Well, Casey's not joining. I don't know how you didn't.
That's why he left the hangout, and then I added him again, and then he left it again. I gotcha.
He literally said, "I'm out this week."
Well, and he wasn't on the email thread. Jesus Christ.
Because he said, "I can't join."
Yeah.
Oh, what a dum-dum.
Well, here we are, Joe.
What a fucking idiot that guy is, huh? What are you drinking there?
I've been drinking these Montauk Session IPAs.
Oh, yeah. My parents, last time they came, brought me a 6-pack of that. It was pretty good.
It's not bad. So did I ask you, or last time we were on the show, I was drinking, it's called Easy. It's like the Session, Lagunitas Session.
I don't know.
Something easy. Something easy.
I stopped.
I really like that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, they got the whole Chicago brewery now.
Yeah, well, they sold out their like major shares to like this larger, like it's like the same company that owns like Corona, if I remember off the top of my head. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
they're all doing that, Joe. They're all doing it.
Selling out to the man. Yeah, I get it. I mean, if it's their prerogative, I just don't want to. I don't know. I'd rather buy like some smaller stuff from around here. There's plenty of good beer. I don't need their fucking shit, assholes.
Yeah.
But you enjoy it. You
know. It was good. I like something easy. I'm in on that. So we'll see.
No, I used to be a huge fan of theirs.
Are you wait? So we are on a live pre-show. I don't know, but if you don't want to get into it, we don't have to. Are you working this week, or what's the story?
Next Friday is my last day, and then I start at the new gig the following Monday.
Dude, come on! What are you, a rookie? Negotiate a freaking week off, for God's sake.
I mean, I could have, but we're single income. I won't trash talk my current place, but like, I gave them 3 weeks. I gave them the recommendation that they're currently trying to get in of who to replace me from another place. Yeah. Like, I have pretty much set up this entire thing. Like, and I'm sure they're still not going to have this stuff in place by the time I go. Whatever.
Are they going to throw you like a going away party? Is it going to be like a, blood in, blood out situation? They're going to like drink you under the table?
It's set for next Thursday. I'm fired up. I'm going to fucking destroy someone.
Next Thursday? What's that, the 1st?
I think so, yeah.
I'm like, maybe I could fly out. I could show up at the
that would be amazing. This is one of the.
I gotta come out. I'm gonna come out at least probably 2 more times before the new baby's born. So.
Oh yeah. When's that? The youngster due?
End of April, like the last week in April.
I'm gonna have to start going to Austin like fairly often now with this new gig.
Ah, nice.
Austin, Massachusetts.
It's a little warmer down there, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. How was your holiday party? Wasn't that like last week or something?
Well, with Suzanne. Suzanne's holiday party.
Oh, I thought, weren't you out here for your office one?
No, that
no, it was just that like thing, yeah.
No, you're right. It was a holiday party. Did I tell you where we went? We went to it was actually a pretty cool place. God damn it. I got to think. It was called Stillwater or
Sweetwater?
Is it a bowling alley?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's not near your office, right? Like it was a little ways.
No, it was like right near Wrigley. It was like 3 blocks away from Wrigley or something.
Yeah, I forget the name of the place. I know what you're talking about though.
It's like old school though, where like there's like pin monkeys.
Yeah. I've never been there. They make their own beer there, right?
They had some really good stuff on tap. Yeah. Like there was a lot of stuff. I actually was checking in on Untapped. I could look at what it's called actually because I checked in now that I think about it. But it was super interesting. Like there were pin monkeys setting up the pins.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't like being called pin monkeys. They were lovely people. So not to demean or anything. And there was like a person that kept score for you. Like there's no automatic scoring. So so.
I like it.
Southport Lanes and Billiards. That's what it's called.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've never been there. I don't really go out much.
It was cool. I would give that a recommend for check that out.
Yeah.
Eric, by the way, Mark just pinged us and said he's not going to be here till 8:15, so we should probably just get rolling.
I mean, do we still have a show?
We do. We have the best show ever.
I'm asking. Yeah, okay, that's
Here
fair.
comes the Danger Boys. It's the Danger Boys.
Oh, Christ.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just to confirm, you guys can hear this. Beer guts. Okay, that's good. Actually, let me check my settings quick. I think we're fine, but I'll just check them anyway.
I'm just gonna tell Joe up front. There's like a 30% chance I've used the word of the day already, so you can check me on it.
All right.
It's pretty good though. I'm excited about it.
When you guys are ready, mute the fuck up.
to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing The Ritual, released in the U.S. anyway on Netflix. I'm the host for this evening. Joining me tonight, you might say living our best lives here in a threesome. First up, he's the business manager at BloodyGoodHorror.com. Making a rare pre-show appearance tonight for those lucky viewers. Please welcome John Schnars.
Hello, Eric.
John and I just talked about like history books for 20 minutes for anybody that was interested in it.
Yeah, we got into it a little bit.
Yeah. And
Really selling the Patreon account. Huh?
next and last tonight, Mark is going to be here, but he doesn't count if he doesn't show up on time. So please welcome our beer drinker, Joe, to the house.
Come the Danger Boys.
The
It's the
Danger
Danger
Boys.
Boys.
That's right.
Reviving the Danger Boys.
Coming at you.
Feels good.
They never went away, John, you know.
That's true.
The spirit of the Danger Boys never dies.
We're always lurking in the background. So,
Oh, good times. Yeah, we're here tonight to talk about The Ritual. Joe, I think we might have to talk about my top 10 list later, so get that going.
Oh, yeah. Let's get that going.
Yeah. We didn't talk about pre-show topics, guys, so I don't know what we got on deck here.
so the big news of the week, I don't know if we did you maybe you guys saw, maybe you didn't, Black Panther. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Didn't see it.
I'm unfamiliar, yeah.
it's funny because I think you might be two of the like 5 people in the country who didn't see it. So
Oh,
Did
I
you
don't
see
know.
it?
I don't think my
Yeah.
wife.
Well, she might have snuck out, Joe, while you weren't, paying
I'll be
attention.
honest, like, I'm not into Marvel that much, so, like, it takes a lot. Like, I saw the original Iron Man in theaters. I saw Iron Man 2 on video, and I went to the theater for Wonder Woman, and that's literally all I've seen. And I watched the first 5 minutes of Thor and turned it off because I was like, this is dog shit.
So
The
I
new one?
see.
The new Thor was
the-
actually pretty good.
The first
Yeah,
Thor.
I was gonna say I want to
Yeah.
see the new Thor.
Thor the first.
So am I to understand that you are willing to support female superhero films, but black superhero against?
I'm in love
that what you're
with
trying to say?
I'm in love with Gal Gadot, and I'm not really in love with anybody from Black Panther. So
Chadwick Boseman. Actually, Michael B. Jordan is the real winner.
he is pretty fly.
Well, Michael B. Jordan in this movie is so goddamn huge. Like, I almost like question whether or not it was like special effects.
Yeah, it's called HGH.
Whatever it was,
Listen,
good on him.
if you have
He looks great.
if you have enough money to pay a trainer and have an unlimited COD budget, building muscle's easy.
Oh my God.
He looks really good. He plays the bad guy. I mean, it's spoiler alert. And he's excellent as the bad guy. So
All right, now I don't even need to see it. Thanks, John.
yeah, might be. No, but it's good. You guys should see it. I mean, listen, it is an important cultural moment. Even more in my mind, like it's a good movie. It's definitely a good movie, but it is like, it feels important when you are watching it. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, where I'm at is like I like the look of that third Avengers movie, but I'm like, does that mean I gotta watch 2 other Avengers movies? And
Yeah,
I still
I'm
haven't.
too far behind.
And I still haven't seen.
Wait, this is the 4th Avengers movie. What are you talking about?
What?
No.
Yeah, there's
I'm
Avengers.
with you, Eric. It's too much. There's
Yeah,
too much to
it's
keep
too
up
much.
with. Like I'm done.
Like
Wasn't the
I can't
third
dedicate.
Avengers movie was Age of Ultron? I thought.
Like I can't dedicate my whole life to watching Marvel movies, Schnars.
No. Then you got to sit around the end because they always have those stupid things
Yeah.
at the credits, and Sam Jackson's on there like, oh shit.
I blame those movies for me not being like being paralyzed when a movie ends because I don't know if I should get up and leave or not. Like any movie.
Yep.
I do want to see.
In any event, you should check out Black Panther. It's pretty good.
I do want to see Winter Soldier though because it stars my favorite Schnars lookalike in the world, and I heard that's pretty sweet. So I should probably. See that.
I love you're like maybe I'll see Black Panther, but I'd rather catch up on this Captain America movie from 5 years.
You know
ago.
what? I did see Captain America in theaters, and that was the last time I willfully paid for 3D because the whole movie looked like trash because it was so dark.
Oh.
So there you
Can't
go.
do it.
Yeah, they figured some of that out. I just saw Black Panther in regular D, like none of the fanciness, and it was
There's only one kind of D I want these days, John, and it's regular D.
fun.
It's so cold in the D. How the fuck do we supposed to keep?
Speaking of theaters, John, I am
yes.
I am trembling with anticipation for this week's return to the theater as we review Annihilation.
I was gonna say that's the other big update. I mean, I'm looking at it now. We should probably just make sure everyone can see it. It looks like it's only gonna be in about 2,000 screens.
Oh,
2,000. That's a shit ton.
I mean, I know all of you guys in towns without access to, good theaters and all,
are we having another,
as we experienced
yeah.
during the Shape of Water Gate.
the great Shape of Water debacle of 2017?
Yeah. So,
it's playing near me. I can confirm.
okay.
Yeah,
there
I'm
we
sure
go.
it's playing near me. I'm not that worried about it, John.
Yeah.
Shapegate 2017.
I mean, look, like everything is basically. I actually feel bad for Annihilation because I feel like everything is being blotted out right now by Black Panther.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking really good, but
Should we, Joe? Should we call that like Frog Penis Gate or something?
What's that? Pepe Gate.
come on.
The apocalypse.
Man. Yeah, no, I'm pumped. I don't read reviews, John, as you know, but I saw a headline for a very positive Annihilation review today, so that seemed promising.
You can't go wrong with is it Jennifer Lawrence who's in that?
No, it's
Jennifer Jason Lee is in it.
Oh,
Really?
she-
Who's the main character?
Natalie
Natalie
Portman.
Portman.
Oh, yep, her.
Mark did send me this video of she was on SNL last weekend, and she like did a sequel to that like rap thing she did on SNL like 10 years ago, and it was pretty amazing.
I do like when she talks about she mentions something in there like don't talk about the prequels.
Yeah. And Jar Jar Binks having 17 dicks or something. It was very funny.
I don't even know the original rap thing you're referring.
Yeah, you
Lazy
do.
Lazy Sunday or something.
No, that was the Chronicles of Narnia one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What are you talking about?
No, it's a
she
completely
on the
different
Lazy
song.
Sunday video?
No, it was a whole different song. You're getting them confused. I'm gonna find
I trust Joe on this one. I'm just gonna lay it out there.
Oh, you're right.
the
It's you.
the other thing we have discussed not at all, Strangers 2, aka Pray at Night, I believe. Is that what it's called?
I'm gonna go out on the limb. Like the trailer seemed alright, but I'm gonna say it's not gonna be good. That's my prediction.
So let me put it this way: if it's good, I will be mind blown.
You will eat your hat.
Yeah, I will. And then I will eat it. No, but when I was at the theater, again, like this was probably the first time I've been at the theater in a while, they had a huge display, like one of these things where you like take your picture in front of it. And it was just weird because I feel like I've seen very little. I'm starting to see some marketing around New York. I base my like expense sort of like projections on how many buses/bus stops I see with a movie poster on them.
Yeah.
And there haven't been many, but all of a sudden now we're starting to see some.
I mean, you do live in the land of bus stop movie posters, so.
It's literally, every other block.
And Boss Baby billboards.
Oh, fucking Boss Baby.
Yeah. Exactly. They're actually never changing that one. It's actually just a landmark now in New York.
Yeah.
The Boss Baby billboard. So.
Alec Baldwin goes there every day and signs autographs.
God.
Just hangs out. It's a tourist attraction.
What else we got going on, John? A new episode of the Eric Show was birthed into the world. Two things for patrons this week. One, I recorded an episode of the Eric Show titled "A Song of Eric in Reading," in which I give my thoughts on the Game of Thrones series. In case you haven't had enough of that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Schnars actually listened to it.
Oh, I actually, just to comment briefly on the Eric show, the interesting thing to me was you were actually very thoughtful about your like growth and development as a reader.
Yeah.
Like more like that was almost more interesting than I mean the commentary on the books was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It was amusing to me because you were saying that, and you were very upfront about it, but you're obviously like saying things that like people who had read the books like however long had basically discussed and like moved on from.
Well, that's fine, but
you
I
hit
had
on a lot of like coaching points.
But
so.
nobody will have the discussion with me, so I just had it with myself, which is really
Totally.
my favorite way to discuss things anyway. My favorite like running theme when I release Eric shows is people being really freaked out by how earnest they are.
Well, yeah.
Like, because
You're a
the original idea of the Eric show was like me complaining about things like an old man, like I do in this show, but really it just turns into like deep thoughts with Eric.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you've been on the fence about becoming a patron subscriber, you get John and Eric talking about like old timey
History
books, history books, and the ramblings.
Those are
of
books
lunatic
about
talking
history.
about
They're not old.
talking about a book series that everybody else read 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
they're not historical books; they're books about history.
sign up now.
And then also this week saw the return of Cinema Fromage, which is the podcast that Casey does with his wife, where they review B movies. He used to do this on his own over on his site, so they're bringing it back as BGH patron content. And then also, we have uploaded their whole back catalog basically. So if you, when we tweeted out the link, or when we patron sent the link this week for the new show, we also included a link for the whole back catalog. So if you're interested in that, you can go back and check out all that stuff. Things are happening.
Moving and shaking.
It's all coming together.
That's right. Anything else before we move on here?
I think that's enough. I think we've.
Danger Boys are here to talk about the movie, Eric.
Here comes the Danger Boys. It's the
Danger
Danger Boys.
For some reason, when you say that, I don't know how it would fit in, but I just keep hearing Boys of Summer in my head.
Oh, I mean that could be, you know.
Don't get them started.
It was 70 here today in Boston.
Oh, that's what we had yesterday.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I think it's going to be like 45 again tomorrow. From what I gather. It was like ludicrously hot.
Mother Nature is a real fuckface, huh?
It's true. Oh, how about this, John? They're going to make a new Bill and Ted movie.
Eric is literally now just going to Deadline and reading news.
I'm just looking at headlines. Yeah.
Wait, is Keanu Reeves in it? Is he involved?
Yeah, no, everybody's involved. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, this was been going on for years. Keanu Reeves and Ted, whatever the hell his name is, like play fathers, and it's now like their kids going back and using space-time magic.
Not as crazy about that, but okay.
Oh.
I would have rather they were just like stoner like adults now.
I would have liked it if they were still trying to play like teenagers.
You're
dude.
right. I'm in on that.
Dude,
just them like still in high school.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Yeah, like they act as if no time has passed since the
What
last
the hell?
one.
I mean, Keanu Reeves basically hasn't aged that much anyway. I will never, for the rest of my life, be able to think of Keanu Reeves without hearing him scream, "It's free fucking pizza."
That's right.
Also, anytime anyone mentions free pizza, then I think of Keanu Reeves. So there you go.
Circle of life there.
That movie really stuck with me. It's a weird movie.
Really?
I don't even remember what it was called. I just remember that movie with Keanu Reeves where the girls had sex with him and then they
knock, knock.
knock, knock, right?
Oh.
And then they wouldn't leave his house. It's a weird movie.
Good for you. I don't want to say this is the worst show we've ever done, but
No,
it's gotta
are you
be
kidding
there,
me?
right?
I'm feeling great, Joe. This is feeling good.
Oh.
All right, Joe. Since you
So what else, guys?
Since you clearly want us to move on,
I feel like I'm on a phone call with my parents trying to wrap it up.
Joe, let us know what we're drinking. I'm trying to move on, dipshit. You won't let me.
Now.
Beer guts.
Jesus Christ, Joe. What's wrong with you?
Oh, it is like I'm talking to my dad.
I'm so disappointed in you. Why do you do this to your mother and I?
Question. So our computer is running slow. Oh. All right.
I may have visited porn.tv, but I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it.
You know what's the saddest part? Like, I don't think he does. Like, I think it's legitimately just like photography websites and weird shit.
Should I update Windows 2000 or?
The most mind-numbing conversation I've ever had was like literally after moving here 2 years and Skyping almost every month, him like insisting that they have never used Skype and he doesn't have an account. Like, literally a month ago we used it. Anywho, The Ritual, it's a UK film. Is that what we're gonna go
Joe,
with?
wait, hold on, Joe. Your music stopped.
Oh.
Beer guts.
Carry on.
I take it back. This is the best episode ever. The Ritual, a film about a gang of friends going out into the woods to, do some stuff, planning a trip, having fun. There's trees. That's all you need to know. And because of that, I picked a beer, and I've picked a lot of beers from these guys, but I double-checked to make sure this isn't a repeat, John. It's from the fine folks at Dogfish Head Brewing down in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. This is their Palo Santo Marron, which I could potentially be saying 1, 2, or 3 of those words incorrectly. So the reason I picked this one is they actually brew this beer in these giant wooden vessels. So they actually use Palo Santo is it's a type of wood. So it's these trees that they grow, and I think there's a lot down in Mexico. I think that's actually where they got these from. But they actually constructed these vessels.
You have no idea where these trees come from, just to be clear.
Literally trying to read it off their website. So there's these tanks that they use, and they're the largest like wooden tanks that have been created in the U.S. like after Prohibition. Because as I'm sure most people know, like when you go to a brewery, they're mostly steel drums that they're using everything more. But barrel aging has obviously like been a big trend in beer for a while now. So like I want to say maybe even like 10 years back at this point, they released this beer. 2007, so a little more. They released this beer, and it's all barrel aged, which, as I've said before, I'm not usually like a huge fan, but this one actually is pretty smooth and ages really well. If that's the type of thing you want to do. It's technically a brown ale, but it does have more of like a vanilla caramel, like almost like a whiskey or something a little more on the heavy side. Comes in at 12% alcohol, so it's a hefty one. They sell it in 4-packs, and if you drink those 4, then you're gonna be feeling pretty nice.
Timely reference there. Nice, Joe.
Should you drive your child to school after finishing these beers?
Kids got to get there somehow, John.
Right.
The nice thing is, you'll be driving it during the same time with all other parents, so you can just kind of blend in with the rest of
them. Joe tried, but she just won't drive herself.
Just gotta, do these things. So yeah, I mean, I've talked about Dogfish Head a ton of times. Like everything they do is great. Even if I don't like their specific beers, like you gotta appreciate the process and everything they go through. This beer is no exception. Like I'm a huge fan. I probably don't drink it super often, but like if you want to do something classy, I feel like this is the beer you're gonna want to bring along with you. Dogfish.com is their website. They put this one out. It's not year round, so it's seasonal. But you can usually find it pretty regularly throughout the U.S. So I wholeheartedly suggest you give it a go.
Great, Joe. Do you know if Dogfish Head still makes their gluten-free beer that they were making for a while? Because I never see it anywhere, but it was like one of the best I've ever had.
Oh, what was it called? Like Tweeze On or something?
Yes. Yeah.
I do not know, but we can find out super
Tweeze
quickly.
Off. Hey,
I've got to imagine. Like I'm assuming like it did pretty well, but maybe. It looks like maybe they don't. So there you go.
That was good.
And no.
Mark, nice of you to show up.
Oh, thanks. I'm here.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, guys, let's take a quick break and review The Ritual.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the front time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Hello, John Schnars.
Yes, Eric.
Duke alumnus John Schnars.
That is true.
Doctor,
yes, facts.
Doctor of Wordology.
Mm-hmm.
Please bring
that was
us
my degree.
The word of the day.
Eric, today's word is effigy. Effigy. A sculpture or model of a person. You can also, the sort of sub meaning, a roughly made model of a particular person made in order to be damaged or destroyed as a protest or expression of anger. Somewhat interesting origin here. Comes all the way back to the Latin, as many words do. The ex meaning out, and fingere meaning to shape. And then eventually...
I
You say fingere?
I bet it's what that means.
I think Joe uses that word a little differently.
that passes through to eventually mean to fashion.
Fingere sounds like the name of a secret society in Twilight or something, like some bullshit.
I don't
from
know
Twilight.
why, but when you said fingere, I immediately thought of our road trip up to Wisconsin.
What?
I don't know, dude.
No, John, Joe, you're thinking of what's his name?
I wasn't with
Guy
you.
Fingeri.
We're gonna stop at the Sam Club, have a little fingere, and then head back up to the house.
So
Cool.
Yeah, effigy. Let's move on.
Schnars, has anyone here ever burned an effigy before? That's a good question.
I don't think so.
Can't talk
I'm gonna
about
say
it.
no.
Like secret society Duke kind of stuff.
Nothing I can remember. Nothing that was memorable.
Might be a no, and you have never burned an effigy that was memorable. Got it.
Yeah.
What about a fingere? I gotta imagine you did a little fingere in college, John. You old dog, you.
Oh Christ.
John's fingering himself right now.
Don't worry about where my finger goes.
That's why he turned his webcam off.
I gotta turn off the camera, fellas, and do a little fingere while we record.
We are children. Hey, John.
Yes.
This just turned into an Andrew Dice Clay bit.
Hey, Fingere. Tell me what.
Dingery-dock.
Fingere, something the clock. John, tell me Tell me about this movie.
The Ritual is, as Joe mentioned, a British horror film. It is from the novel. I mean, we've talked about this movie a lot actually on the show because this was a book that we covered. The movie is based on a book that we covered as part of the BGH Book Club. Shout out Cece. I actually read the book as part of the BGH Book Club experience. It was the first and last BGH Book Club I participated in, and we can get into why. Yeah, so this is a 2017 British film. It debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it was actually a notable acquisition at that film festival by Netflix. And so this basically all international distribution rights outside of the UK were picked up by Netflix. It was the second largest deal at last year's Toronto Film Festival. So it just debuted about a week and a half ago on Netflix here in the US. I think it's probably, available worldwide except potentially in the UK. So yeah. The deal there was for 4.75 mil. Really interesting. I think we should get into at some point the kind of like trend we're seeing here. We've talked about it a little bit. This is like the third movie this year that we've covered that was like a basically Netflix, direct to Netflix release.
We can just get into it right now. Why I find it interesting is that even Cloverfield, even though it was flawed, I think like it's kind of redefining the direct-to-video horror market, right? It's becoming it's almost like carving out a new tier between what we used to think of as like indie direct-to-video and theatrical. Like now there's almost this other level that's like almost theatrical and goes right to Netflix.
Well, 100%. And the reality, and what'll be really interesting to track is how it develops, right? Because the reason this is happening is because Netflix has an ungodly amount of money.
Right.
I was going to say, I think the number I saw was $4 billion is what they're planning to spend basically on development for the year. That's like a 1 year outlay. So this was like,
I don't know a lot about money, John, but I don't know how that makes fiscal sense.
Well, again, like to your point, they are trying to nurture this middle market where people are going to pay, like people like us, right? Like in some ways, like the people who will be hurt by this potentially is like Shudder, because in a universe where they can start to drive like this
the prices
sort of like, and it's the struggle for them is that like and why Shudder will continue to exist. I don't think they're actually going to put Shudder out of business, but is that like they're doing this with The Ritual. Like this was a big acquisition for them theoretically, but horror isn't like their only thing. Like they're doing this with like they have all these Adam Sandler direct to Netflix films.
I mean, the
Mm.
thing
And
is, this
thank
movie,
God for that, because they're all amazing.
this movie is a weird case because like this this movie is a weird case because if it wasn't British, like this is way better than most American theatrical stuff, and I feel like if it was English for whatever, more easily translatable for the audience, even though it is, right? It's just an American
Yeah, I
hang
mean,
up.
the
Like
accents aren't even that strong
this,
here. Really.
I might disagree with that, but
No, all right.
but like I'm just saying, this is like
Bollocks.
a theatrical quality movie.
Yeah, so I was trying to think of like a good comp, right? So, like a movie like Sightseers, which we've talked about a lot. I mean, like, or even Attack the Block, right? Attack the Block was like a decently sized British release at the time, like in the UK, but got very little distribution in the United States. But somebody paid for the rights to distribute that in the US. And so it's all just like it's all an ROI calculation for the distributors, right? They're looking at it and saying, okay, if we're going to pay $5 million for Attack the Block, and we then have to pay to market it, how much money do we think we're going to take in, once you split the costs or the ticket prices with theaters and yada, yada, yada. The reality is for Netflix, like the ROI calculation is just totally different because they recoup all of the quote unquote sales. They don't even really have sales of tickets. Like
Right.
if The Ritual gets people like us to talk about Netflix in a complimentary way, like that might be enough to 4.75 is a big number, but a lot of people like us to talk about it in a complimentary way, like that's a good thing for them.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's super interesting. Really quick on the background here. So this is again based on a book by Adam Neville. He's done a bunch of other horror sort of like genre stuff as a writer. The director here is this guy David Bruckner, and he's actually pretty familiar to us, mainly as the director of one of the VHS segments in the original VHS, and then he was also a director on Southbound. Which we covered last year, 2 years ago. He also directed, I didn't know this until I was just looking it up. He directed this movie called The Signal, which is actually like a sleeper favorite of mine from like way back in the day. I think we might have talked about it on the show,
Yeah.
episode 40 or
I
something.
remember talking about it, but I can't actually remember if we did it.
No, I don't. We never did an episode dedicated to it. But back in the day when we used to kind of just like cover a bunch of random shit, I think that was one of the things. So, but that's a great movie.
Signal had Lawrence
2007.
Fishburne in it, Joe's favorite.
What?
I
Did
said
it? The Signal?
Yeah,
Oh wow, I didn't know.
I missed what you said. What are we?
have Lawrence Fishburne in it. Your favorite?
Ah, huge fan, completist.
It's funny you say that because somebody brought up Lawrence Fishburne today, and all I ever think about now is when they find him in Predators and he's like fat somehow, even though he's
Super
surviving
fat, yeah.
off the land.
Poor fella.
He's pretty good on Blackish. You guys see Blackish at all?
Yeah, I like that show. Although he's not been in like most of the episodes this season.
All right, I'm not current, so don't.
Ooh,
Don't spoiler
exposed.
alert.
Yikes, John.
John got exposed.
It almost feels like you're lying to make yourself, sound like a little not racist.
All right. So David Bruckner again, like this is actually, I guess, only his maybe second or third full-length feature, but someone who's been around a little bit, done some interesting stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's so the basic outline here, and Joe sort of hit on it. You've got these four friends. They go on this hike in a Swedish national park called the Sarek National Park. It's actually somewhat of a famous trail they go on called the Kungsleden, which means King's Trail. And so they go on this to honor a friend of theirs who died during basically this pretty gruesome evening out that they have where they go, two of the friends go into a store and during basically a robbery gone wrong, he's killed. One of the sort of friend who goes into the store with him kind of lives with that guilt. And they go on this hiking trip to kind of honor him. But a lot of it ends up becoming focused on this character, Luke, and sort of his wrestling with the emotions he has, based on all that stuff that happened. While they're on this trail, they encounter this sort of desolate or abandoned home in the middle of this forest. They basically try to take a shortcut. They go into this forest that's sort of unnavigable in some ways.
Most horror movie decision ever.
Yeah, we're gonna take the shortcut. But yeah, they find this home, and that's sort of like they stay the night to get out of the rain, and it kicks off what essentially becomes a monster movie of them trying to get through this woods and just increasingly finding weirder, creepier shit, and then the murderation starts. So,
love me some murderation. Hey, Mark, what do you think of this movie?
I liked it. I didn't really have any expectations going in, other than I knew it was a monstery type movie. I thought that, I mean, first of all, the monster is incredible. We can talk about it. We can decide how much we want to spoil it, but the monster itself is amazing. But I think there's a lot of really memorable scenes in this movie, specifically the house scenes. There's a scene where they all like fall asleep and then they wake up in these like these different states. And that scene is like horrifying to me. It's crazy. It's going to stick with me for a long time. I think that maybe there's some questionable stuff as it gets towards the end, but this movie was like an hour and a half, really cool monster. It's kind of funny dialogue, but really gets like serious pretty fast and picks up towards the end. So I really loved it.
Jojo.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with Mark. I was a big fan of this also. I think Mark kind of touched on that, but there's kind of this reoccurring theme of like specifically the main character flashing back to the murder. Because I think what John didn't mention was he kind of has this guilt because when the robbers come into the convenience store, he ends up hiding around the corner, and the other guy that they're with is kind of left there to fend for himself, and he ends up getting killed. They kind of show this scene where Luke is like holding on to a bottle, thinking like maybe I should try and help and attack these guys, and then decides not to, and then shit hits the fan. So they kind of like keep circling back to that, which is like super creepy because they're like you're in the middle of these woods and then it takes you out, but it does this really great sort of transition of like the woods are still sort of in the convenience store, so it's not like completely like a flashback. It's more like a transition.
I liked that it didn't completely take him out of the woods ever to like hallucinate, because then you would break the tension in a way. Like it's like elements of the store start kind of invading the woods in certain scenes.
Which I think is a really interesting way to do it, because normally in a movie you'll see like they just kind of cut and he's like standing in the store and you're in that area, but they did like it's really more of just like a transition, and like you're never completely out of the woods. And like the setting is just super creepy because you get these certain parts where like they're camping every night, but then like stuff starts to escalate and they're kind of running off, and then they realize like, oh shit, like we may not know how to get back. Like it's funny because it's like super open, but it's also very claustrophobic in a way. So I just thought like the way they did it, I thought it was great. I was a pretty big fan of this.
John.
Yeah, I had read the book, and I didn't love the book. I actually, I would say I didn't hate it, but I definitely was not sort of a fan by the end. Having seen the trailer, when we saw the trailer for this, I actually got really excited for this movie because, and why I think it succeeds in a lot of ways is that the kernel of the story and what is kind of laid out in the book is actually like a really compelling, in some ways simple, like genre story, right? Like Eric, you joked like most horror decision ever made. You could say a lot of the stuff that happens is fairly quote unquote most horror thing ever. Like there's a lot of genre tropes here, but it's just really well executed. I think Joe's point about the sort of cinematography or the art design of the way that they worked in the flashback stuff was super interesting. It was just really well done. I mean, again, I thought the underlying story is good, and I think they had a vision for how to bring to the screen and kind of strip away some of the extraneous stuff from the book that left what is actually like a really compelling story. And then they nailed all of the like character design. I think Mark mentioned the creature is super interesting. They did make some changes. We can get into it if it's interesting, but like from what I remember, they changed a decent bit about the ending, but actually, again, I think it works really well because in a film, and again, this is a pretty tight hour 40 minute film. Like they got it all out there, and then I don't know, it came together much tighter than I was probably expecting.
Yeah, I watched this with my wife, and I loved this movie. I think that the comparison that jumped out for me was honestly the Blair Witch Project, because there are a lot of little threads in the movie that feel really similar, and I think it is in a post Blair Witch world, it's one of the movies that has done the best job of recreating that kind of horror of the void, basically, in the woods. You know what I mean? Like staring out a tent into trees and darkness, and getting woken up in the middle of the night and weird shit happening and getting lost. Like, it hits so many of those notes. The creature design is incredible. I think it's like one of the best movie creatures I've ever seen. Very just strange and creepy and kind of beautiful. I think it's revealed really well. It's kind of revealed in little bits and pieces early on, and then you get some good, nice, full-on shots by the end of the movie, which is, like, sometimes it's frustrating with a slow burn to not get that money shot at the end. You know what I mean?
No, well, they do a great job of not doing the monster shot too soon. I loved. There's a couple sequences where all you can see is like shit sort of moving in the woods, and the way that the like sort of verticality of the trees with like no limbs on them, and it's just like you almost wonder if you're imagining shit, and that obviously plays into the way the characters are feeling. I thought it was super smart, but then you start to get like very random specific elements of the monster.
Even the first half an hour of the movie, which is really just them, it's the opening scene and then it's kind of them hiking, is really intriguing because there's a great tension even in those early scenes, but the landscape is just gorgeous, and the hiking stuff is actually, I thought, really compelling even in the beginning where not much is happening. And part of that is because I think the relationship with these friends is pretty interesting. You kind of feel this guy's guilt and this tension between him and his friends. It is funny, right? Like, we were kind of breaking it down over email, and I have some questions about the way, I feel like maybe in the end, those personal character threads could have been maybe tied together a little tighter. And also, like, he's guilty, and I 100% understand that. But, like, are any one of us, the two dudes with knives, and you, at best, you have a bottle of vodka in your hand that you might be able to swing at one, and, like, probably is going to take him out anyway. Is any normal person really going to be able to do anything in that instance? It's like,
I do think that they killed the friend with a pipe. I don't know that they actually had. I mean, listen.
No, one of them. No, because before they hit him with the pipe, the dude slashes his face. Because when he falls, in the ground, he's got a huge knife slash. I have a picture of it right here, John.
Well,
I was a little confused too. Like, I thought it was a pipe, but it does kind of hit him like a knife. Like, it was a little confusing.
No, the first thing was definitely.
I thought it, like,
because I saw him. He had like a fucking butterfly knife or something.
They say that he died of a cracked skull.
Yeah. What my point is, I'm not saving any of you guys.
You don't crack skulls with knives. Is all I'm saying.
I'm not saving anyone.
Broke his fucking face tonight.
So like, although I got the guilt, that part was a little weird for me, because I'm like, I mean, to be fair, also they weren't in the store with him, right? So all they know is that he came out unscathed and their friend was dead.
Yeah, I mean, so in the book, look, like, I don't want to get into it,
no,
but like in
it's
the
an
book,
it's an interesting aspect of it.
I believe in the book he's an alcoholic, and I can't remember if he's an alcoholic before or after.
So they make a tiny nod to that because
because no one else wants to keep drinking, and he does.
Well, no, but even a little moment after that, I don't know if you noticed, it was very subtle, and it's weird that I even noticed it. But yeah, in the opening scene, he's hammered and he's buying more alcohol. Then when they're hiking, they put up a little shrine to the friend, and they all take a drink of this liquor, but he doesn't take a drink.
Okay.
But it's like it's very subtle. Like, they don't even show him like shoo it away. They just don't show him take a drink.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that first 30 minutes was really effective at setting up this friend group. It becomes really important because the dynamics between them really matter, and some of the decision making that goes on. I loved, and like loved is probably not the right word, but the guy who hurts his knee, who's kind of like the most out of shape,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
annoying one.
Punch that dude in the face.
Well, but I
that's
thought
the-
he
but
was
that's the-
really effectively played
That's the point.
as a character.
The
Yeah.
the point is that you want to punch him in the face.
So, but
He's definitely punchable.
he's definitely punchable. No, I think, but that's all that stuff is set up really efficiently. It's not something that has to be overly explained. And frankly, like some of it's just shorthand, right? Like Hutch is the kind of competent one who's gonna keep them all together, and like we're gonna have a good time no matter what. And you know, the annoying one is obviously the one who hurts himself, and then like they all basically want to kill him the whole time. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was effective at getting into the film, and then that sets up the rest of the tension, obviously, or a lot of the tension as they start to encounter the monster.
Right.
I don't want to call you out, Eric, but I was kind of curious, so I'm literally watching it, and that guy 100% takes a drink.
Does he really?
Well, one of them
That's
was it him? One of them
hilarious.
takes like a very quick sip. Was
I
that
even
it?
like said it to my wife. I'm like, oh, did you see that? The guy didn't take a drink. That's fucking so funny.
Yeah. I was kind of curious because I know you don't have like the best attention span, so I just it's the guy who hurts his leg just takes like
That's
Well, as long as we're issuing corrections, I was talking about the wrong signal earlier, so I just want to before you guys get hate mail about that, I just want to point that out.
knew that. That part I knew.
that's the funny thing, Joe, is I was actually super duper paying attention.
Yeah, apparently not.
Anyways, well, so I mean, the character dynamics are important, but one thing too is like we can't really talk enough about how incredible the setting is. Like specifically, the
Yeah.
forest
Yeah.
has these crazy trees that are like interlocked in a way. The trees look like razor sharp, and it creates these really crazy, like slow zooms. Like I think John was saying, it's like you see stuff moving, but it's very disorienting because it creates this like really crazy kind of lattice, and there's a lot of establishing scenes with slow zooms and like foreboding music that I think do really well to kind of sell how just crazy the forest is that they go into.
Yeah, you just mentioned and I'm glad you brought it up. I thought the sound design and like basically, it's hard to even call it a score because it's not really a traditional score. They use
Blobs. Lot of blobs.
it's a lot of atmospheric noise almost, but I thought it was awesome. I really liked it. So the whole idea is it's basically there's a claustrophobic feel that is created in this forest, and the music and just the way that they use a lot of the lighting choices, even during the day, it is always dark. And it just ends up being so oppressive at times. So I love that.
It's
Setting
yeah.
on everything.
No, I agree. Like specifically, like I think at night, like because you kind of hear this thing moving around, and you hear like branches breaking off in the distance. Like, and Eric's spot on. Like it definitely goes back to like Blair Witch, like that creepiness without actually seeing things. And then even like there's a certain part like it's really like the first time you kind of know that something's out there. Like all it is like this hand like wrapped around a tree, and then like it slowly moves. Like
You almost don't see it. You're like, wait, what the fuck was that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we actually like rewound it and like watched it twice to actually figure out what the hell is going on.
The one scene in the tent, in fact, basically any of the scenes in the tent basically made me never want to go camping again.
Oh, it was terrifying. Like
I was just like, why does anyone sleep in tents? This is crazy.
The other movie
you can't see anything.
The other movie this reminded me of, and this is gonna sound batshit crazy, and I'm like the only person who likes this movie, but Yellow Brick Road that came out in 2010.
oh god.
Oh, I never watched.
I love that movie.
I wasn't a fan, but I totally get the comparison.
But
I
it's
don't even
similar.
know if
It's
I've even heard of that movie.
It's similar in the sense of like people out in the woods just losing their minds slowly.
yeah, weird shit happening.
Yeah, and weird stuff happening. I love that movie. I highly recommend.
I bet if I went back and watched that now, I'd be a lot bigger fan.
It's real weird, man. It's just one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. I should check that out.
But yeah, just like that aspect of
Wait, did we even talk about that movie on the show? What is this movie?
No,
No,
we
I
never did an episode. Like it was streaming like years ago. Like who knows? That would actually be a really good staff pick. Like I think that would be a lot of fun.
No, because
Did
I
you
really,
say it was streaming 10 years ago? Because that probably wasn't
years ago.
possible.
I don't want to do it as staff
10 years
pick
ago, John.
because I really
Download
like
to my
it.
AOLs.
Yeah,
and-
John.
I really.
Did you see
like
the last
it.
week's Blackish, John? I'm just curious what your thoughts were.
Joe, how did you go back and get a picture of that guy drinking? Did you just start streaming it from Netflix?
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
I 100% was not trying to be an asshole, but I was trying to figure out if he was the one that like just took like that fake sip or
Do you
which
want
one
to
he
go
was.
back and find out if that guy had a knife in his hands in the robbery?
Oh,
scene? 'Cause
yeah,
I feel
let's
like
do it.
Joe, solve this
like-
problem for him.
I'm
God.
reasonably sure that he did.
Joe is now
None of
our,
us can ever forget or misremember things from a movie ever again.
well,
Apparently.
Joe is now our live fact checker. God help us all.
Yeah.
I gotta
Um,
say, this movie made me feel better about being American because, like, you know, you think about the way
Or at
that
least you know you're free.
you think about the way that we would write a movie about this kind of mythology, and it's totally written in the same way. The guys are like, yeah, it's like some pagan shit or whatever. Like, it's Thor. You're like, they're just saying random shit that they know
Mhm.
from the, popular folklore.
Lots of great. We were talking about this offline. Lots of great foul language in this. Trying to find a way to organically use the phrase "lick my bridge" in some sort of context.
Like my
See,
bridge.
Oh,
I love a good prolonged taint related
Yeah.
conversation.
I was gonna say. Then the one guy clarifies it. He's like, "You mean the perennial?"
that's a good time to bring up the accent thing. So we started watching it, and I didn't feel like I needed subtitles, but I could tell my wife was like a little lost. So I was like, hey, do you want to turn the subtitles on? She said, yeah. So, and I'm so glad I did.
Perennium.
I'm so glad I did because I thought I was picking everything up, and I 100% was not. And like a lot of the filth goes, like, because for the most part, anything that's really important to the plot is spoken pretty clearly, and it's kind of high enough up in the mix. But there's a lot of banter, especially in the beginning between the friends, where I couldn't understand a GD word they were saying. But there's a lot of profanity you don't even pick up that you see in the subtitles.
This is 100% a pipe that they use.
Boom.
Neither guy has
Nailed it.
a knife.
No, he's
Eric, did you watch the same movie?
I did.
Eric had the British version.
So
Did
explain
you
to
just
me.
watch Yellow Brick Road again?
So explain to me how they like straight up slash his face with a pipe. Like that makes no sense to me.
if you get hit in the face with something, it can cut you,
It
even if
was
it's
like
not
a
a
knife cut though. This is bullshit.
Yeah, it's really just like a big wound that opens up on his face. I mean,
this is horseshit.
I'm so glad Joe's here just to set Eric straight on this shit.
Joe, can you screen cap every frame of the movie and send it back to Eric so he can rewatch it?
if there's one thing every Charnews has enjoyed doing over time, it's proving people wrong.
There you go.
That's
I did
like
quickly-
on your family coat of arms, just like somebody wagging their finger.
it's just like a person making an asshole face wagging their finger.
I looked up the King's Trail, so this is a real hiking trail in northern Sweden, and it looks really nice. It's 270 miles long. I cannot imagine they were doing the whole thing, but the whole idea. So one of they talk about, and why the reason they take the shortcut is they have to get to this. What did they called it, a lodge, I think, but basically there's these huts that have been constructed along this trail that are basically meant for people to stay in. I don't know if that's exactly where they're trying to get to, but
I thought they were like literally like staying at a resort that they were trying to get back to.
no, well, because they can see it in the distance. It's just like it's like a little light. It's not like a big, I don't know. It was like a little thing they were trying to get to.
Interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but isn't the King's Trail also what you call the hair going down your belly?
It is golden.
There is not a disambiguation page on Wikipedia, so there's no way to know.
No.
Just fingerring the Kingsbridge.
Take the King's Bridge down to Fingary Town.
Oh, Christ.
Yep.
So yeah, do you want to? Are we gonna spoil here? Do we want to get into a little bit of?
I would say we all really love this movie, and I mean, is there really? You know what? It's not really twisty or anything, but I would say like.
No, I mean, there's not really even that much of a spoiler. I just was gonna talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happens in the third act, and we'll throw a mild spoiler alert in there.
Well, I want to say too, before you get there, one thing that I thought was another just really subtle choice that I think was really great is that the part John's going to talk to, they kind of end up somewhere, and it's clear that there's people in the forest. There was some really interesting shots of the little canisters that they use to light the path, and it was very specific. You're like, what the hell is that? And then later you find out, and you're like, oh shit.
I love
what
that.
was it? Now I don't remember what they
It
were.
was
those stumps with the sort of crosshatch cut into them.
Yeah, there's a shot of it, and you're not quite sure what it is, and then later they come back to that spot and you see that they're like lit up. They're like torches lighting a path. No?
Yeah, I mean,
Watched a different movie?
understood that.
Dude,
I understood that they were lighting a path.
Joe, can you go get a
Tell me-
screen grab of that, please? Can
Tell me
send
you
it
need
to
a
Joe?
screenshot.
Oh Christ.
That looks like a machete to me, Joe. I don't know.
All right. I will.
Just let it go, Joe. Let it go. We're moving.
This looks
I'm
blurry.
afraid I cannot, John.
Listen, that guy looks like a crisis actor. Okay, this is not conclusive.
Oh,
evidence.
So,
It's a deep fake.
as Mark mentioned, that basically what happens eventually, 3 of the friends, or wait, are they? I guess they're down to 2 by the time they get. So they are just trying to survive. They get separated from all their crap, and they're basically on the run from this monster that's following them, and they get onto this lighted path, which at the time they're just so desperate. They're just like, okay, we are not going to worry about what's going on here. That leads them a bit. I can't remember. Do they actually? I don't think they even make it to the house, or maybe they do, but they essentially, people come out, and next thing they know, they're waking up tied up in a dungeon. And at this point, they're down to 2, and essentially it's sort of revealed that you have this cult, I guess you would call them, living out in the woods, worshiping what they call a god, this sort of ancient being that lives in the woods. And
It's awesome.
Or it's like a mandeer god.
it is a man, dear God. They
It looks like if Krampus made love to a giraffe.
Sure.
It's sort of like a centaur, but then it has these weird antler deals. I don't know. I guess some sense.
It's a mantar.
It's a mantar. All right. It's a deer tar. It's really wild. And then it also
isn't that
it's
just
like
a deer?
it has like. I was trying to think like there's like comparable monster. That's the kind of the point is that it really is not unique in that no one's ever seen anything like it, but it is definitely creatively designed. I think at least Cece mentioned a little bit in our pre-show email thread that this was tied into some Norse Swedish mythology. I don't know. Did anyone pick up any of that? I'm assuming.
Well, I don't remember that, but she said there's a pretty, extensive explanation of, how this thing kind of gets summoned with, this black metal group that, calls upon it, and, that's how this whole sort of, little cult in the woods actually starts.
Yeah, so it's funny, I read the book. I do not remember, exactly the backstory of how it gets called, but I trust these.
No way surprises me, John. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Well, and that's such a weird departure too, because you get you kind of get the feeling that this cult is woods people. So the idea of there being a band in the woods or wherever the band is seems, pretty far off from what's actually happening in the movie.
Yeah, one of the things I remember from the book was actually that the people living in the woods, and this doesn't have to do with the black metal situation, pro or con, were little people. What
do you mean, little people, John?
I think of them as the children of the forest, or what are they called in Westeros? The
children of the
Newells.
forest.
They're called Newells, I believe.
Yes, the Newells.
You can fuck right off, Joe.
No, but there is this whole sequence where one of Luke, the character who's sort of dealing with, the trauma, the one working through the trauma. Yeah, he escapes, and the sequence where he gets upstairs, I actually love the sequence because this was straight from the book. He gets upstairs because he hears all this noise through this door. It's sort of like a chanting, people sort of worshiping type of sound, and he opens the door, and it is these basically rotting corpses. In the book, it was sort of it was all little people. That's where the little people stuff comes from, is I believe they were basically mummified remains. And then he lights them on fire, and it's pretty sweet. It was good. I thought that was super well, I don't know, done. I loved the setting of that house, the actual, that all the way that set design and everything. So
little village, yeah. It's funny. His character arc is the only thing that kind of I've been thinking about a lot since the movie, because ostensibly, right, it's kind of a dual thing. It's yeah, there's a monster and there's the literal thing, but he's also kind of facing his demons down, right, and trying to find his courage. But it's weird in a movie that's almost entirely about that. Like, yeah, he kind of sort of finds like some courage at the end, but all of his friends are dead. And there's nothing really clear where like he learns a lesson and then uses that lesson to save him. He just sort of escapes the house and leaves the woods. And so, I don't know, I felt like there maybe could have been a little better resolution there. And then the movie just ends. That was kind of the other thing that bummed me out, is that you get nothing. You literally, it's like he leaves the woods and bam, credits.
Yeah, well, and
He
and
screams at that thing.
Yeah, he monkey screams at it. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think I might have made the comparison, and I didn't come up with this. I feel like somebody else made this reference, maybe on Slack. But one knock you could make on this film is that it's sort of a Descent knockoff. You substitute the cave for the forest, and the creepy, weird
I think that
cave things for the dear God.
I guess for me, the way that I would have tweaked that was like, if he was finding courage to save one of his friends, then that makes total sense with, well, that kind of rounds nicely with the beginning of the film. But by the time they're all dead, at some point you're like, dude, just like hang out with the village people and bow to the thing. Like, I almost would have loved that ending more, of him just giving up and being like, I'm one of you people now, I guess.
Yeah.
Leslie, same conversation. Like,
and
we
you kind of
like,
think,
what are you going back for? Like, what do you have at this point?
and you kind of think it might be headed in that direction, because the God thing is like forcing him to bow down, which I actually thought was a really powerful scene.
That scene was brilliant.
And I thought like, because so far you've seen that this is like violently killing people and like hanging them from trees. So to see it sort of like catch up to him and not kill him, but like try to like basically like gently force him to bow down was really fascinating. And like, I kind of agree that it would almost make more sense for him to just kind of submit to it and then become a forest person.
Well, they say like, sorry, like they even say like he's pretty much been marked by this thing. Like they show like the other people that are there worshiping it have like the same like claw marks that he had on his chest. And like, I think the woman who kind of explains this to him even makes like a remark that like, of the group, like you're the most what's the word I'm looking for? Like
broken, you have the most broken or something.
Yeah, she said something about
like he's
pain.
been kind of chosen to join them. Like, I don't know. Like the way I saw it going, like I 100% thought he was going to end up staying with these people.
Yeah, I think it just makes more sense because the way it does, like, I think they're going for like this redemption, but I just didn't see them earn that, I guess.
And nothing for nothing, he leaves the woods and he's still in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, with no food.
Yeah, and he's banged up.
Yeah, like I can't imagine he actually made his way back.
With no food or water.
Yeah, he. I mean, in the book, some of that's handled a little better.
Well, I
as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you have way more backstory on him,
right?
And sort of like what he's dealing with. I think there's like a family tie-in, or like he has like a child. So like there is an element of like he just needs to survive, and like that's ultimately
right, like
it becomes about him.
There's no mention at all of him having a family in this.
Yeah, I mean the big sequence you guys were talking about, the Mandir God making him bow down, the real sort of, I don't know, genre pleasure you're supposed to get. Like the release moment is supposed to be him No, I mean it's supposed to be it's supposed to be him picking up the axe and sort of exercising his demons by like actually using the axe on the monster.
Right.
So like the escape is nice, but it's like him actually taking action is the important part.
Also, he made a particularly poor decision in trying to shoot that thing from really far away.
Yeah.
Like he's like far enough away
with one
and it doesn't
bullet,
notice him. Yeah. Right. And he's like, yeah, maybe I'll take my shot. I was like, ooh, no, don't do that.
It's also, if you think it's a god, maybe you just like assume that a bullet's not going to kill it, kind of thing. So
right, like he's probably thought of getting shot and fixed that, whatever that is. I like the idea that the people. I like the idea that the people were from different times and eras, and then they just become immortal. So like that's interesting, which they almost need to do in order to explain why one of them can speak English. But then it makes sense, right? Like, Joe, what's this latest screen cap you're sending me here?
Oh, it was the little fire nubs that they carved into the trees that John didn't agree existed.
No, I believe they exist. I didn't know what they were.
I'm pretty sure you flat out said those are not real.
Listen,
Yeah.
And
John was focusing.
I have seen every episode of Blackish.
John was focusing on his release. Okay, he couldn't focus on anything else.
Forget.
His genre pleasure.
Yeah, his genre pleasure.
There you go.
Love
I'd say
it.
this movie's a great genre pleasure.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, little nitpicks about that stuff aside, it is incredibly tense, and it's one of those things that kind of I get excited for these days, which is when I actually, like, my test is, do I really want to see what happens next? Can I, like, not wait to find out where this goes? And that's kind of how I felt about this movie. I just was with it the whole way, feeling the tension, and just ready to kind of go wherever this movie wanted to take me. And that's, to me, all you can kind of ask for these days, right?
I mean, the scene where I can't say this enough. The scene where they all wake up in the cabin and
It's
like
crazy.
the one guy's naked, bowing to the effigy.
That's the creepiest
The other
part.
dude like pissed himself.
Pissed
The other
himself.
guy's got a mark on him. You're like, what the fuck? It goes from this story about friendship and something vague, something vaguely threatening is going on, to full on like, what the fuck is happening? This is terrifying.
My favorite is
Well,
the guy
I mean-
the guy who peed himself, because that's just funny. This is good comedy
Like,
right there.
To Eric's point, like one of my nitpicky things, which may be a little more than just nitpicky, is like they pretty quickly accept that, like, oh wow, that's weird how we woke up. Let's continue on this hike.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
it's like they're so
I
freaked
kinda liked
out.
it.
It's like they're so freaked
Yeah,
out
it
they
was
don't
like
even
a
want to.
macho thing.
They don't. No. I think it was like a cognitive dissonance thing, right? Because they're already feeling lost. They're already running low on stuff, and like to me, it was like they were so horrified by it they didn't even want to speak about it.
Well, the one guy
Yeah.
who literally was like, I pissed myself. I don't want to talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, there was. Yeah, you're right. There was some of that.
Because
but-
the Indian guy in particular just keeps saying like, guys, can we talk about what happened? Because I woke up naked in front of the statue and that was pretty effed up.
Was that the same cabin as they were in later, or was it different?
No,
No,
it's
different.
A different
Okay.
place.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. All right. This movie pretty cool. Would you?
Yeah, very into it.
Would you recommend it, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely.
John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Me too. 4 thumbs up. And I believe CC liked it also. All right, guys. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
A certain kind of girl joins Pi Theta sorority. A girl who likes to party and likes to get close to her friends. A girl whose extracurricular activities were more daring than most. A girl who could turn her fantasies into reality. Then again, Pi Theta was different from other sororities.
I'll get back at you for the last thing I do.
Because in this sorority, nothing is off limits, as long as it's fun for the girls. So when it came time to say goodbye, they decided to make real sure that no one would ever forget the girls in the house on Sorority Row.
Hi, this is Jeffrey Combs, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back.
I'm getting a great deal of genre pleasure watching Joe's dog lick his face.
I was just about to say, a new patron bonus. During the bumpers, you get to watch Joe tongue kiss his dog.
He is going nuts for whatever beer I was drinking. You're a good boy, aren't you, little boy?
I don't. Oh, Jesus Christ! I don't know how I feel about Dog Lover Joe. It's a little. It gives me the opposite of genre pleasure.
Well, he's my everything. so.
Info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Guys, we got a great email this week. This email is from Mary. Sorry, she says, "My friend and I just watched the movie Within. We cannot agree on which character gets shot towards the end by the cops. I believe it's David, but my friend swears it's the boyfriend. We've searched all over for the answer with no luck. We'd very much appreciate any light you can shed on our problem. Thank you.
I've never seen this movie.
There's an apostrophe in shed, so that's why I read it.
Yeah, I mean, this is apparently a Michael Vartan joint.
I'd love to know what this person thinks we do, also, for starters.
Well, I'm curious, like, is she listening to the podcast and was like, I hope they take this question and respond to it on the show? Like, what was, Yeah, I've never heard of this movie either.
What we do.
Also, I didn't know who Michael Vartan was until I looked it up.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Apparently, he directed Never Been Kissed. Or no, he was in Never Been Kissed.
G.I. Joe character. He's the one that changed color in the sun, right? Vartan?
Oh, it's this guy.
It's a deep cut.
Kind of looks like Hugh Grant. It's like a poor man's Hugh Grant.
Yeah, I think it was. He was like a homeless man's Hugh Grant.
He was in a lot of 90s stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hobo Grant.
Was he the guy that was in... He looks like the dude that was in Dead Curve or whatever.
He was in Never Been Kissed and Alias.
No, oh, yeah, okay, yes. So he was in this movie, let's see, it was like 90... Dead Man's Curve. It was a made for...
Wow.
I owned it on VHS. It's sitting in this rack behind me. It was a made-for-TV movie about students who murder their roommate and try to make it look like suicide so they can get straight A's. Do you remember the time in the late 90s when that was like a story?
The poster actually just has The Curve. So it looks like it is also called The Curve.
My version is called The Curve. If you if you have if you have like a soft spot for kind of late 90s urban legend type slashery business, Dead Curve is, or The Curve it's pretty great.
It has Kerry Russell in it.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, and Matthew Lillard.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
It's pretty dope.
Huh.
Also, guys,
in any event, the movie Within, we have no idea.
Breaking news.
You're on your own.
Apparently Yellow Brick Road was never released on Blu-ray because I can only find it on DVD.
That's a shame.
Yeah. A loss for society or what?
Now I want it, but it's like, do I want to buy a DVD? Is that the person I am?
Fucking Trump.
Sure.
Man, it's been a good week for random correspondences from people.
Yeah. info@bloodygoothorror.com. We're also on Twitter. What do we got there?
Oh my goodness. So we use 2 hashtags and they bring so much joy. The first one, if you're not already aware, you can get all the back episodes of the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. And if you're listening through our vast archives and you see something silly and want to bring it to our attention, tweet it with the hashtag BGH Classics and try and cram the episode number in there. And we'll read it. This first one is from Catastrophic. This is a quote from Eric. Man, boobs when they're not held back when a girl's running. Ridiculous looking.
I thought we already read that one. No, so I remember what this is from. Are you sure? No, maybe not. Maybe it was just on Twitter.
I don't remember that. But...
You know what this is?
Maybe you just read it because she added you.
Do you remember in My Bloody Valentine 3D, there's a scene with like a nude woman running in terror through a parking lot in slow motion for like 30 seconds?
I mean, we did talk about it. It was specifically like, this is a 3D sex scene and this is a 3D naked woman. Strange. I feel like was the entire premise.
I mean, I also don't want to see a dude running naked for 30 seconds in slow motion 3D either.
Why not?
Yeah, that's agree.
Put your eye out.
Two Fingary for me.
2 Fingary. A scale of 1 to Fingary. All right. This next one's from Library O Congress. Episode 188, Shark Night 3D in 2D. This is Eric. Donald Logue has got to be making the most on this movie set, I would think. And that's probably a turkey sandwich and a Diet Shasta.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Wait, what movie was that for?
If it's anything that BGH Classics has taught me is that we used to be way funnier than we are currently.
I had to look up Donald Logue. I forgot who he was.
Or at least way more willing to just rip into stuff.
Yeah, was Donald Logue Greg the Bunny? Did I make that up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
He was in that show Terriers. He's been on a ton of
Was
shit.
he in Greg the Bunny? I know he was. That was
Terrier firmer.
That was Seth Green. Was like the
Okay.
man person on that show.
I don't know. Someone tell me later in the chat or something where Donald Logue's from.
Joe will research this and get back.
I mean,
I don't think I've said anything correct. I think I'm just throwing out random names of shit.
His biggest thing was that sitcom with where he's got the family there.
What?
Sure.
Damn it! I hate you guys.
Yeah, I
movie are
know.
we talking about?
We're talking about Donald Logue.
We're talking Shark
Grounded,
Night 3D.
Grounded for
Grounded,
life. You can literally turn on a television at any time of the day, and there's an episode of Grounded for Life on some channel.
He was in that movie, the Tao of Steve.
Yes.
You guys remember that movie?
Oh, that guy.
Fantastic. He's the homeless man's Randy Quaid.
Sure.
Also, the homeless man's Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid is himself homeless, which makes
It's the Randy Quaid that's still allowed in the country.
Yeah.
He's the next best thing. All right, next one from Library of Congress, episode 337, The Gallows. Eric, I hope Sophie's ready to bring it because I came here feeling very apathetic. Sophie, I'll do my best. Schnars, Sophie, we're going to need more. Sophie, this is going to be the best episode ever on record.
That was a fun one. That was the first ever.
The Shallows, yeah.
That was the first ever Schnars Eric Sophie pairing. Maybe the only one ever. I can't remember. If we've
I
done
think
it
so. I think it might have been the first time we ever did with 3.
I was having Sophie made me laugh today because we were DMing on Slack about a podcast thing, and I was like, she's asked me if I listened to this show, and I'm like, no, I'll be honest with you, I don't listen to any other film podcast because I don't like hearing other people's opinions on movies.
Like fucking
and
nerds
she just wrote back like, that was literally the most Eric thing you've ever said.
I mean, we've all thought it. This next one is also from Library of Congress, episode 377, The Gallows. Schnars. The Gallows is a film directed by Travis Clough and Chris Lofting. Eric, laughing at the names. Shut up. Schnars. Travis Clough is also the actor who plays Mr. Schweinemann. I think it's a very real possibility that this movie was an elaborate prank.
Oh, good old Schweinemann.
That's funny. Next one is from Skizbot.
I think what people are trying to say is that was a really good show and you should go listen to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a weird movie, though. I don't know.
No,
This
good show. Terrible movie.
There you go. That's usually how it happens. This next one's from Skizbot. Episode 230, The Cell. I said, Joe's spinoff podcast is going to be half butt talk, half TMZ talk. We're starting to build a perfect show here.
It's true.
I could still do that. It's still in the works.
This next one is very Fingary, so brace yourself. This is also from Skizbot, episode 15, Cannibal Holocaust. And it's a quote from Eric.
Oh, God.
I just fucking find it hilarious every time when the chick is slapping his dong around.
Dear Lord.
Mark, it's good you're back because those are the Skizbot ones that I would filter, and then he would get upset with me. So,
you know what? That's still pretty funny. Just thinking about it.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
I'm all right with that one.
All right, next one, also from Skizbot. Episode 325, it follows. Casey, while discussing reading books versus Kindles, someone did invent a spray that smells like an old book. Cece, you can just spray it on yourself. Eric, and then as a bonus, you can smell your own farts while you're at it.
True.
There you go. Last one, Mi Corazon, Mi Amor. This is from episode 200, Return of the Living Dead. Eric said, I am positively moist with anticipation.
That's true.
Oh,
And Gary. We also
moist.
use the hashtag AskBGH. If you have a question and you want us to answer it, tweet it with hashtag AskBGH. Unfortunately, she's not here to read this, but she did like it, so she's seen it. This is from Reality Boy. In defense of Cece, collecting cicada shells is not odd behavior for a kid, but we Australians don't use fancy jars. They naturally stick right to your clothes.
Gross. And yes, it is.
Dear Lord. Yeah, absolutely. Australia is not the standard for what is
Normal.
Well, it's starting to get warm again in Florida, and I'm starting to hear the mutant-sized bugs ramping up again. So
Nice.
may not be long for this world. Next one is from Byron McCoy. This is at Joe. Having crested the halfway hill of life in an attempt to hold on to your youthful spirit, do you ever consider listening to more current pop? Sure, Katie, Carly, and Tay are great, but I'm really feeling Terror Jr. lately.
Yeah, this is actually a really good question. Go ahead, Joe. I have a lot of thoughts on this and like new music, but I know he asked you.
I have no idea who that person is he's talking about, but I will enjoy a Megan Trainor from time to time whilst running.
I mean, I fuck with Bruno Mars pretty heavily.
I think that this question even goes beyond pop music, though. I just think it's actually like super important to remain like a vital human being, to at least try to engage in modern music, because like, it doesn't matter what you're looking for. Now is almost literally the best time to be listening to music, because
how very non-horror fan of you, Eric. You got to be like, no sellouts, major labels.
I only listen to Slayer. Blah. No, but it's like you can go on YouTube and Spotify and kind of plug in the things you like and get literally endless recommendations and find amazing bands. Like everything I'm listening to now are just young bands that aren't on the radio that are just doing like incredible things.
I'm a little uncomfortable with how well Spotify knows me.
Yeah. But
knows
like
me more deeply than I know myself.
I work with people like this that don't listen to any music past like when they were in college, and it's like, dude, so you're just listening to the same crap over and over?
I 100% agree with you.
I mean, presumably they like it, but
no. But I'm just saying, like, are you ready to just like fold up and die, Schnars? That's my
Gin
point.
Blossoms are fucking fantastic.
Getting there.
Okay.
Check in.
I 100% agree with you, Eric. But I do think in some respects, like Spotify can be a little overwhelming. Like there's times where I go on there, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking for. I'm just gonna listen to this album that I love.
But if you go on, and you just listen to all the shit you like, right? Then it like Mark said, it learns you. And like the best feature that Spotify has, if you leave an album playing and it plays out, it immediately starts playing recommendations right after that. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, no, I do like that feature, and that's the only time I get exposed to, because I'm actually with Joe. I actually find Spotify, like, I love Spotify. I am a paying customer, but like I tend to go find things that I like, or I listen to playlists that people share with me that I trust their taste, because like I don't have the time or the energy to go seek out new shit is my problem. So
all right,
here's a great plug: search for Secret Murder Jams on Spotify.
We have a bunch of bloody good horror playlists. I do listen to those every once in a while.
Just search for Bloody Good Horror. A couple of them.
I actually discover most bands on YouTube. Like I follow radio stations that post like, they had a band in the studio or whatever.
No.
I mean, full transparency, basically at the end of every year, I go to like the AV Club and I'll go to like Pitchfork Media and I will see what their top 50 albums are of the year, and I'll just like pick out like 15 of them and I'll listen to them, and some of them I do like and like move into my rotation, but a lot of times I'm just like, I listen to it once. I'm like, I get it.
We've talked about this before, but even like my dad buys the Grammy winner CD every year and just like puts it on repeat in his car and listens to that for like 6 months. Like,
so Mark and your dad are basically both jamming Bruno Mars just straight now.
Yeah, I'll never forget the year he called me and said, "Hey, what's the deal with Skrillex?" Like, I don't know, man.
And you're like, Dad, I don't know if we got time for this right now.
See the bleeps and the bloops.
I have a feeling that Grammy CD is going to get even further out of his reach for the next couple of years. Like it's just pretty soon it's going to be unlistenable.
If we got him on Spotify, then he could just pull up a Grammy playlist.
That's going to be a hard sell, I think. Anyways, inside Newell baseball. Next one, it's from JD Burge. The BGH crew goes hiking and gets lost in the woods with the Norse god creature. Who's the first to die and who's the lone survivor?
We've answered these questions a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Eric's definitely the limpy guy that whines a lot, right?
I think if we're talking about the full-on crew, like, I kind of feel like Andy would survive. Andy seems like a dude that could, like, start a fire.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Cece would join the cult. Like,
she'd be like, guys,
no resistance. Yeah, she would immedially start helping the cult.
She'd be like, guys, no, it's actually really great here.
Like, Joe would pee himself.
Yeah, well, I already have.
I might get like tricked into getting in the cult. That seems like something that would happen to me.
I feel like you would be way too nice and die like almost immediately.
Yeah. Yep. Trust.
Oh, hey, little giraffe demon, you need some help with something? Oh,
you got a thorn in your paw.
Oh, you got a boo-boo?
He's just cranky.
Nope, I'm up in a tree now and dead. All right, next one is from J.D. Burge. This film gave me Blair Witch vibes, but with the actual payoff, how does a Blair Witch Project hold up for y'all 2 decades later?
It's still one of the greatest horror movies ever made.
I'd agree with the ending. I still think it's super creepy and holds up.
I watch it twice a year, maybe. At least once a year, every year since it came out.
I'm due for a watch.
It's
So,
so good,
I'll
so
get
good.
back to you.
If I get to like one movie during the holiday season, like when I say that I mean Halloween, like that's usually the one.
There you go. Next one. Chase TX. Who on the show is the biggest Dom, both in reference to the character and otherwise?
The biggest
Wait,
Dom.
which one's Dom in the movie?
He's the one who hurts his knee and is like the obnoxious, like pain in the ass one.
Fuck you guys, whatever.
I mean, we didn't even say it again. You just
I can
brought
see
up
it in
on
all
your-
of your
it's-
eyes.
We should
He's,
move
you know.
on.
Okay. Next one is from Womble TJ. Probably spoke about this, but since we didn't so much see an actual ritual, is the ritual more about the act of growing up and realizing all your friends aren't the same and it's time to move on?
Oh damn! Just made this movie a lot deeper and darker potentially.
I mean, that makes sense, except also they're all
them going
dead.
up to the top of the mountain and pouring one out for their homie is literally a ritual that they do.
Well, I assume that the ritual is the delivering of Dom in this case to the demon.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, it is weirdly titled. I feel like that's where, like, again, in the book there was like some other thing that I feel like was tied into the ritual. Now I can't remember what it is.
We get it, John. You claim to have read the book.
Well, like, you see how much of an impact it had on me, so
Joe, can
Take
you go
that
get
for
some
what it's worth.
screenshots of the book, please, and verify that John knows what he's talking about?
You.
All right, very last one is from Robale. This is fucking confounding. Please tell me you'll review this. Moose, Fred Durst movie about John Travolta stalking Devon Sawa.
Done.
Yeah, I would be into that.
That is just like a random, just mishmash. That's like a random cast. generator.
Question. John Travolta with wig or sans wig?
Oh.
Great question.
It's important.
Don't know. That's story. So there's like no information on it. There's 4 people in the movie. It's in pre-production. It says the storyline is a rabid film fan stalks his favorite action hero and destroys the star's life.
I mean,
Wait,
nothing
what
with
movie are
Devon.
you talking about?
Nothing with Devon Sawa in it has gone
Called
theatrical
Moose.
in like 15 years, so it can't be a good sign for Travolta.
I'm still baffled that Fred Durst directed that movie, The Long Shots, with Ice Cube.
Christ. If you search John Travolta on IMDb, you know how like they always show you like one movie to kind of like reference? The movie for John Travolta is Battlefield Earth.
Oh boy.
When you go to his known for page, Battlefield Earth is one of the 4
Yeah.
movies. Oh my god. That's crazy.
I'm gonna guess Battlefield Earth.
Oh yes.
Mhm.
Look Who's Talking. 2.
Nope.
No.
Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Yep.
Swordfish.
Nope.
No. Swordfish, come on.
What was Saturday Night Fever?
Nope.
See,
Yeah.
that's like should be like there's a bunch of shit from the 70s and 80s
Listen.
that should be on here.
Look Who's
Face
Talking
Off.
should be on that list.
There's no way you're getting the 4th one is Get Shorty.
Mm.
Like he's not even, I guess he is the main character in Get Shorty. I don't know.
Was that movie where he's an angel? Michael.
Yeah, Michael.
Wow. Yeah. There you go.
It's Joe's favorite.
I don't know. Moose. Yeah, Fred Durst. All right, I'm in for this.
Cool.
I'm all about it.
We
I'm
done? Are we
definitely
done
in.
yet?
So come and get it.
It's coming.
So-
All right, that's it for Ask BGH. We did it.
There we go. We did it.
Thank God.
Danger
guys.
Boys plus Mark.
Danger Boy. Yeah, Mark's not a member of the Danger Boys. Sorry, Mark.
Bummer.
It's the Danger Boys.
You're like a danger apprentice.
Well, you guys aren't allowed in the Fingari crew, so whatever.
You can ride in the side.
John is the finger.
You can
I
ride in
invented
the,
Gary Crew Mark.
Mark. You can ride in the sidecar of one of our motorcycles. How's that?
Oh, cool.
'Cause
Wait.
we-
Cool.
Wait, Eric, do we have time to add this to the best of list
Sure.
before we fade
What
out
do-
here?
So right now, I believe I have
Any thoughts
one
on
movie
where?
at number 1, and I have one on my worst list. Right?
You've
What-
got Cloverfield on your best of and Insidious on your
Yeah,
worst.
put this just above Cloverfield, basically. And last year, I tried to call my
Ooh.
shots. This year, and basically just everything's going at number 1, and then it's just going to get bumped down the list as we go. Which
Alright.
actually is a much more scientific approach, this whole thing, and I should have done that last year.
Somewhat chronologically biased, though.
Well, but eventually you're going to see something that is going to slide in below this, but above.
Well, true.
Cloverfield.
That's true.
Well,
That's true.
So.
I'm
It's abstract
guessing,
art, John. You're not. You can't understand.
John, if I'm lucky, a bunch of things will slide in between this and Cloverfield before the year's over.
Yeah, we all better hope.
I don't want
jeez.
to talk
Alright,
about
guys.
things sliding anywhere anymore.
Next week,
Spaghetti.
we will finally see Annihilation. I can't wait. That's it.
Yay.
Hope you enjoyed
Cool.
the show.
Yay.
We'll talk to you then.
Adios.
See yous.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.